Consider, as the squad carefully makes their way down that ancient, tight tunnel, the cameras begin rolling. It is rumored that for centuries something has been hidden on Oak Island that no one has dared to see. The air is thick, the walls are wet. Additionally, there is an odd vibration that seems to be coming from something living beneath the ground with each step. The camera light flickers abruptly. "Wait, what was that?" a voice asks as a shadow swiftly moves over the screen, and the video briefly turns entirely dark. Strange shapes are then carved on the wall when the camera is turned back on. There are some lines that look like an old map, some skulls, and some symbols. The faces of the team show fear. Water droplets fall upon the stones as they move forward, reverberating throughout the tunnel. The heart-piercing sound. Then, as if someone had slammed a large door shut, a harsh metallic clang abruptly echoes from behind. Everyone is astonished by what is captured a few seconds after the cameras begin to shake. It wasn't just a tunnel, some claim. It was a tomb belonging to an old mystery. Is the forbidden chamber that ought to have remained closed ultimately opened by the Oak Island team? There's something enigmatic about the name Oak Island. Explorers, scientists, and treasure seekers have been drawn to this small island off the coast of Nova Scotia, Canada, for 228 years because of its hidden mystery. According to legend, some young men found what is now known as the Money Pit, a hole in the ground, in 1795. As they dug, they discovered wood layers every 10 feet. However, the puzzle grew more complex the further they ventured. Since then, hundreds of searches have been conducted, but the true treasure has never been located. Nolan's Cross is another intriguing construction that surrounds the Money Pit. It's a sizable cross-shaped patch of stones that resembles a mystical or religious emblem. Many analysts think it might be a sign that the Templar Knights left behind. Some people believe that the wealth hidden on Oak Island is truly the ancient riches that the Templars concealed when escaping Europe, since they were known for their valuables and esoteric emblems. Because it contains not only wealth but also one of the most enigmatic tales in history, the island is known as the deepest secret in the world. Let's move on to the section that has generated the greatest controversy in recent years, the subterranean tunnel's discovery. In order to uncover hints of a new underground chamber or tube, the Oak Island team was continuously utilizing new technologies. They re-examined a few antique maps from the 1800s in 2024. A line that appeared to be a secret passageway ran west from the Money Pit on those maps. At first, everyone assumed it was merely a cetographic error, but Marty Laganina insisted on a sonar scan to confirm it. The findings of using ground-penetrating radar and sonar were startling. A long, narrow structure that stretched in a straight line emerged about 90 feet below the surface. The team was persuaded by its depth and form that this was a man-made tunnel rather than a natural cave. Rick Laganina remembers it. "We were all momentarily astonished. The fact that we had found something that had only been spoken in stories for generations astounded us." In order to install a camera, the crew then bored a tiny hole at the location. Wet walls, stones, and most intriguingly, some old symbols on the walls were visible as the camera lowered. These were the identical patterns that had earlier been discovered at Smith's Cove and Nolan's Cross. The connotation was obvious. The remainder of Oak Island was connected to this tunnel. The team saved the video right away and spent the rest of the night analyzing it. It's impossible to describe the mixture of anxiety and exhilaration on Rick and Marty's faces that evening. On one hand, they thought they might have finally found the way to the treasure chamber or main vault. On the other hand, they were concerned that the tunnel would be lethal if it turned out to be a trap. For that discovery, the story of Oak Island changed course. Rick had stated, "We're not after treasure, we're after a century-old truth." Social media users asserted that the crew had discovered the hint that would reveal the actual secret room. Some even claimed that the Templars used this tunnel as a means of escape. And now that the team had lowered cameras into the tunnel, what they saw there rocked Oak Island's whole history. The squad had done everything they could this time, leaving no room for error before heading down into the tunnel. Motion sensors, heat detectors, and high-definition underwater cameras were fitted to capture every movement and alteration. To ascertain whether the air indoors was safe to breathe, the team also had oxygen sensors. The cameras included specialized LED lighting that allowed them to record crisp footage even in confined spaces and in damp conditions. Massive devices were positioned everywhere, transmitting live video to the control center. Everything had the appearance of something from a science fiction film. Yet the event that was about to occur was far more horrific than anything from a film. There was anxiety and eagerness on Rick Laginina's face. Maps and scans were continuously being reviewed by Marty and the rest of the team. There was optimism in everyone's eyes, but there was also a strong sense of anxiety because it was believed that those who ventured too far never came back the same. Rick cited, "We're just a few steps away from where the real truth about Oak Island may lie." When they put on their helmets and switched on their communication devices, the whole place was quiet, except for the faint hum of machinery and the red lights of cameras blinking. The team started to make their way toward the tunnel entrance one by one. The path was extremely narrow, slick from the water and mud, and the walls were covered in moss and moisture. Someone tried to lighten the mood by laughing, but even that mirth was stifled by anxiety. Rick was in the front with a flashlight and camera, while Marty was leading from behind. In the end of the tunnel, Rick remarked, "If anything seems wrong, everyone should get out. No one should be killed. But we'll watch the video later." After everyone gave a nod, the camera began to record. A voice announced that recording had begun, and the group entered. The atmosphere abruptly altered as soon as we entered the tunnel. The air was heavy and frigid. Every drop reverberated throughout, and the sound of dripping water reverberated from every direction. When a flashlight was shown on the damp walls, a faint glimmer appeared. The cryptic patterns, circular shapes, inverted crosses, and some odd symbols that appeared to be part of an ancient religion or culture were initially seen by the camera. "These markings are exactly the same ones we found at Smith's Cove," Marty stated. Rick just nodded, his eyes wide with astonishment. The atmosphere grew more spooky as he went a little farther, as though there was an electromagnetic disturbance nearby. The camera kept losing focus. Rick saw a little flicker in the camera light. A faint sound, like someone murmuring gently from inside the wall, suddenly reached their ears. Everyone paused for a while. "Did you guys hear that?" Rick asked. The other three exchanged glances and replied, "Yeah, there was something." However, nobody was able to identify the source of the sound. The earth softened as they descended a little further. The camera would get splattered with water. At that moment, a faint tremor was picked up by the motion sensor. "Is someone moving?" Marty said, but there was nobody in the area. After a few seconds, the same sound resurfaced, a little more distinct this time, like chain being slowly pulled. Everyone's spines tingled at the sound. Rick swung the camera there, but all he saw were smoke like particles floating in midair. Rick remarked, "Wait, keep steady. There's something here." The camera operator responded, "Sir, the light keeps dimming." As soon as they stabilized the camera, a shadow moved on the wall behind them, quickly but visibly, enough for everyone to notice. The group was taken aback. Nobody spoke. Everyone's breathing became labored. The Oak Island tunnel appeared to be an enigmatic trap at that precise moment. Every sound, the walls, and the air, all appeared to be attempting to conceal some old secret. The cameras continued to record, but the team's terrified expressions made it clear that they were searching for a truth that might not have been intended for humans, not only for treasure. The light from the camera illuminated the walls as the group moved farther into the tunnel, exposing some extremely odd patterns. These were well-thought-out designs rather than merely superficial scratches. Crosses were created in certain areas, and curving lines formed code-like patterns in others. Most shockingly, there were carved skull-like forms in several places, encircled by circles. "It wasn't just someone who worked here," Rick said in a whisper, as he looked attentively at the walls under a spotlight. The team instantly zoomed in and started recording. "These look like a code or an ancient script," Marty said. "Someone left a message here." The dirt surrounding the symbols appeared different, as if they had been purposefully hidden years ago by someone carving them into the stone. Rick's response, "Or they could be symbols of the Knights Templar," caught everyone's attention because Oak Island had previously yielded numerous Templar-related artifacts, including carved stone boxes, mysterious carvings, and stone crosses. "If these were the same people, then this tunnel was probably their way out or a secret chamber," Rick said. The team later took pictures of these symbols and sent them to experts. Some cryptographers thought the shapes held a code to a treasure location, while some historians said they looked like medieval European-style carvings, possibly from the 13th or 14th century. An archaeologist suggested the symbols might be symbols of an ancient language once used by seafarers. However, some developed a darker theory, claiming that the symbols were warning signs meant to keep people out. While the team was deep in conversation, the atmosphere abruptly changed. The camera light gradually dimmed, and the air became cold. Rick questioned, "Did anyone see the temperature sensor?" Even if the weather above was completely normal, the data revealed that the temperature had abruptly plummeted by 10. After a moment, the team thought it might be a technical glitch, but what happened next shocked everyone. Then was a jolt, as if someone had lightly hit the wall. They looked back, but nothing was there. Static appeared on the camera screen, and the footage became distorted for a few seconds. A very faint but distinct sound of footfall came from behind, and someone said, "Is anyone there?" It sounded like someone was walking extremely slowly, and the earth was trembling with every step. Rick quickly pointed his spotlight in that direction, but all he saw were dust and water drops. The sound was definitely captured by the camera's microphone. One crew member screamed, "Someone pushed me." Everyone ran toward him, but there was only his bag on the ground and a wet mark on the wall that looked like someone had touched it. Later, when the footage was watched, there was also a faint breathing sound, as if someone was standing very close to them. Marty said nervously, "There's something here, Rick." Rick tried to stay calm, but the flashlight in his hands was shaking slightly. Those in the control room were watching live and recording everything, and they told the crew to come out right once. But Rick answered, "No, not just now. We must discover what this location conceals." A few minutes later, the identical sound resurfaced, this time emanating from a deeper section of the tunnel. When the team emerged that night, fear was evident on everyone's faces. The sound was amplified by the camera, and everyone heard someone speaking softly, but the words were unclear. Experts later examined the recording and found that the voice was repeating 3 syllables that resembled an ancient language, but no one has been able to figure out what they meant to this day. "We probably shouldn't have disturbed something," Rick replied simply. "The Oak Island Tunnel has evolved from an archaeological site. A grim reality from the past was revealed through the enigmatic gateway." As the team proceeded deeper into the tunnel, the light from the camera abruptly struck a solid object. Everyone was taken aback by what they saw. An iron door, half buried in the rocks and dirt, its shape entirely out of place, as though it had been purposefully placed there long ago. Its surface rusted, but etched on it were odd symbols, some round, some oblong, some with ancient seals. Marty said, "That's exactly the same symbol we found at Smith's Cove." Rick took a deep breath and said, "Yes, but this door looks like an entry point." The team fell silent as Rick looked closer and saw one of the symbols clearly in the flashlight. 2 crosses with a serpentine design between them. It appeared to be a warning sign. Rick stared at the door for a long time before he said quietly, "If we open this, we might never be the same again." His hesitation was obvious, but curiosity won out. Everyone thought that maybe this was the place that would reveal Oak Island's secret. But there was also fear, because the symbols there seemed to be a warning rather than a blessing. With heavy chains, crowbars, and hydraulic tools set up, the team decided to try to open this door. The air felt heavy and cold, as if there was an invisible force at work. Rick signaled, and Marty inserted the first crowbar into the door's edge. 1, 2, 3. At that moment, strange static appeared on the camera lens, and the screen went black for a few seconds. They tried pushing again, but the door didn't even move, and this time they heard a faint creak. As they applied more force, the soil started to fall, and suddenly a large section broke open. Rick leaned out to touch the air with his hand and said, "It's not air." As the film resumed with the door slightly open, and a chilly breeze blew from inside, conveying a metallic smell, as if ages of moisture and iron had mixed together. Everyone put on masks and advanced the camera, saying, "It's the breath of history." The camera moved forward, and the tunnel widened slightly, revealing a small room-like space behind the door, a narrow passage that led slightly downward, the walls of which were deeply carved, and the air emanating from there had a faint humming sound, as if something was vibrating somewhere far away. "These are inscriptions," Rick stated quietly, referring to the old writing patterns, lines, signs, and patterns that appeared to be a language on each wall. The wall was covered with moss, but the letters still gleamed, as though they were cut from metal. "Someone wrote something here," Marty observed, examining the writing intently. "But they don't look like any known language." A large stone table in the center of the room had a number of artifacts on it, including a metal plate, some pieces of clay, and an old bronze piece with an engraved figure. Everything was arranged with care, as though someone had left it there after some sort of ceremony. But the most unexpected item was a small, sealed box that was set in the center of the table. A member of the crew replied, "Should we open it?" It was made of wood, but it was fastened at the top with an iron clamp. It had a wax mark on it that was marked with an antique seal. Rick looked at it with a flashlight and studied it in silence. After giving it some thought, Rick answered, "No, not just now. It would be improper to disturb it without first preparing if this is indeed what we are searching for." The team slowly left, but as they did, everyone looked back, as if the letters on the walls were watching them every step of the way. And that little box, as if it still held a secret. The camera centered on the box, and its shadow fell on the wall. The atmosphere was eerily quiet, but even in that silence, there was a sense of mysterious energy, as if the room were still alive. When the team got back, they all had the same expression on their faces. Did we actually see something? Later, the control room went through the entire day's footage frame by frame, and while everything appeared normal at first, as the recording got to frames 46 and 47, everyone felt a chill go through them. Rick looked again, then a third time, and each time the same shadow appeared. Was someone there, or was it just a play of light? No one knew. That part of the footage leaked to social media, and within hours it was all over Reddit and YouTube. Clearly visible in those frames was a human-like shadow standing near the stone table for a few seconds, then disappearing after a brief period of time, marked by a faint hazy aura. It sparked a debate among thousands of people, who claimed that it was an AI-enhanced illusion, that the shadow was caused by light reflections from the camera, that it was a spirit figure that had been guarding Oak Island for centuries, or that it was the guardian spirit of the Knights Templar, who wanted to keep the treasure away from humans. There was a dispute between mystery and science, but everyone agreed that the footage was genuinely disturbing. Some even went so far as to claim that the entire Oak Island area is full of electromagnetic abnormalities that cause the cameras to capture erroneous images. However, some historians and archaeologists made it clear that Oak Island is no ordinary place. Some scientists claim that the shadow was actually a gas pressure illusion, that the abrupt movement of gas bubbles trapped inside the tunnel created a light haze in the air, and that when light hit it, it appeared to resemble a human shape, and that the temperature and wind direction of the area may have caused optical distortion. Some residents said Oak Island is cursed land where a ritual was carried out centuries ago, and many think the shadow scene is a sign of that curse, a warning that some things are not for humans. They said that many unexplained events had happened on the island, including sensors failing, equipment shutting down on its own, and people feeling a presence. In the meantime, government and private agencies started to show increased interest in this debate, which spread so widely that it was even featured in the next episode of the TV show. It is reported that when the Oak Island team sent the full footage, some parts were immediately declared confidential, and the producers of the show acknowledged that some scenes were too sensitive to be shown on TV. In an interview, Rick and Marty said, "Some of our cameras suddenly shut down at that time, and some of the video still hasn't been recovered." Rumors circulated that the government had sealed a few minutes of the footage, sparking a social media movement under the name Classified Segment, as people asked what the government was afraid of, and why certain parts needed to be hidden if everything was normal. Some even suggested that Oak Island might hold a secret that could change history, and the government doesn't want it to be revealed. The story of Oak Island is no longer just a treasure hunt. It has evolved into a conflict between science and mystery, fact and faith, and truth and control. They did say, "What we saw cannot be described in words." Social media exploded as soon as the Oak Island team's camera footage was made public, and within hours, your Oak Island footage and hidden tunnels started trending worldwide. People continue to watch that shadow frame repeatedly, pause in slow motion, enlarge, and analyze, but no one has the answer. The one thing that unites everyone is fear, because if that shadow truly existed, the question is it still there today, or is it standing behind us? Every platform was talking about the same enigmatic shadow and underground room, and Reddit was overflowing with threads dissecting the video frame by frame, some even attempting to reveal new shapes by boosting the brightness and contrast, while others claimed to have seen the figure of a man in ancient armor, and that the shadow wasn't human. After a deluge of spooky edits, slow-motion videos, and conspiracy videos appeared on Twitter, users started making both funny and terrifying memes. Some claim to have discovered the gate to another world, while others included a picture of Rick Laganina. Millions of people watched snippets of the video on TikTok and Instagram Reels, with some feeling elated that the mystery was finally being solved, and others feeling scared that the location was cursed. Viewers around the world were split on whether what the cameras captured was real or a technological illusion, and gradually curiosity gave way to fear, while adventurers and mystery seekers became even more excited. Some churches and religious organizations called for a halt to the excavation of Oak Island, stating that if something supernatural truly exists there, humans shouldn't disturb it. People all over the world started to wonder, what will the team do next? Will Marty and Rick enter that tunnel once more? These queries rose to the top of the internet's search results. An interview with Rick Laganina surfaced, adding to the emotional situation, and he calmly stated on television, "We can't explain what we saw." While Oak Island was once again at the top of the world's mystery map, he went on, "We came looking for treasure, but what we found wasn't treasure." His expression showed both terror and tiredness. There are moments when words are lost. Something else was involved. Fans around the world were stunned by this statement. Many noted that Rick's face wasn't one filled with joy after a discovery. It was the face of someone who had seen something beyond their imagination. When asked if the team would go into the tunnel again, Rick paused for a moment and then softly said, "Probably not." This line, "Some secrets should remain hidden," resonated with everyone and became a social media meme, with people quoting it in their posts. It has since become the new identity of Oak Island. Marty Laganina also released a statement. "We're not backing down out of fear, but we now understand that Oak Island isn't just about gold and silver," she said. "It has to do with something more profound, spiritual." The team temporarily stopped excavation, but a video of Rick's interview, in which he said, "Sometimes the truth is too heavy," is still making the rounds on social media. People from all over the world continue to re-watch the video, generating new theories and wondering what is underneath Oak Island. Rick's words, however, ring true as a warning. Not all secrets must be told. Some truths, if told, will be too difficult for people to face. Since this enigmatic discovery on Oak Island, experts from all over the world have focused on the tunnel, and historians, archaeologists, and paranormal researchers have all developed their own theories. Historians speculate that the entire network beneath Oak Island may have been constructed by the Knights Templar or ancient French explorers, while archaeologists speculate that the tunnel was constructed by humans, possibly to discover ancient treasure or a secret passage, and that writings and symbols discovered in the chamber may be remnants of an ancient maritime civilization. In the middle of these divergent views, the team devised a new step. Some experts disagree, arguing that because of Oak Island's soil and structure, such natural tunnels may have grown spontaneously, and that it would be premature to draw any conclusions until proof is uncovered. In order to determine whether the tunnel is merely a passage or a component of a larger network, they announced the start of a new scanning project that will make use of the most up-to-date ground-penetrating radar and magnetic field detectors. The project will take place over the course of the next few months, and its goal is to create a 3D model of the entire area surrounding the tunnel. Rick Laganina explained that this time, the team will digitally map the entire area without going inside. "We now realize that this place is not just a pit, but a huge labyrinth," Marty stated. Whether the next season of Oak Island will venture inside the tunnel again is the most talked about issue on social media right now. While some sources suggested the team would be more cautious, Rick's statement made everyone think, "If the truth calls us, we will go, but this time, not like before." This demonstrated that perhaps the mystery surrounding Oak Island is far from over. Millions of viewers are eager to see if cameras will ever again enter that chamber. And now, the story has reached its climax. The big question that has caused everyone to wonder, was that tunnel just an excavation or a gateway to an ancient civilization? The shadow, the strange noises, the temperature drop, and the symbols carved on the walls cannot all be coincidences. The most terrifying aspect of this enigma is that every time someone approaches learning the truth about Oak Island, something stops them. Some claim that an ancient secret society exists beneath Oak Island, while others think that a supernatural spirit guards the treasure. Rick Laganina even remarked, Sometimes it feels like someone is watching us but can't see us. This smell sends shivers down the spine of the audience. And many questions remain. Sometimes the cameras malfunction, sometimes the machines shut down, and sometimes people back off. It seems like some unseen force doesn't want the truth to come out. The story of Oak Island is no longer just a show. It has evolved into a mysterious journey that grows deeper with each visit. Perhaps this is the greatest beauty of Oak Island. Were those sealed boxes part of a curse? Are there more chambers beyond that tunnel? And if so, what lies there? These questions still linger in the air, and the same suspense lingers in every viewer's mind. The enigma gets deeper the more you look into it. Maybe Rick is correct when he says, every answer raises a new question. So, is Oak Island actually a gateway to a different culture? Or is there a secret in all of this that mankind isn't ready to discover yet? Maybe we won't know till the next excavation. The cameras have been switched off, but the tale of that tunnel is still vivid in everyone's thoughts if someone dares to go through it again. What is underneath Oak Island's soil? Is it mystery, gold, or some force keeping watch over us? Nobody knows the solution, but the world was rocked by what the cameras showed. Those shadows, those voices, and those symbols don't seem to belong in a typical excavation. It seems as though history is attempting to communicate, but humanity has not yet figured out what it is saying. Everyone can still hear what Rick Laganina said. There is still more to the truth of Oak Island. Humans may not be able to comprehend what is inside, and maybe that's why this riddle has evolved into a warning as well as a finding. Every time someone ventures into Oak Island's depths, it seems as though they are going down into the blackness of time, where dread and history collide, rather than just the earth. The question then becomes, was the video you watched authentic, or something else? Is there something truly concealed beneath Oak Island that we will never be able to comprehend, or was this all a mirage? Leave a comment below with your opinions, as your ideas might turn into a piece of this enigma. Please like and share this video if you liked it, so that others might discover Oak Island's secret. Remember to subscribe, because the next time we venture into the depths, perhaps the truth that has been concealed for millennia is waiting for those who are courageous enough to see it.